So, how are we doing?
I'm good, mate. Thank you very much. I'm good. I've had a good vegan week. I've nearly finished Earthling Ed's book.
Oh, have you? Has it been amazing?
There's been elements of it that have kind of blown my mind a bit.
Wow.
And other bits that have reinforced what I thought already, if you like. And it has kind of led me a bit towards what Carrie said during our episode, that sometimes I feel like it's not enough just to be vegan.
Okay.
And that's, I think, maybe partly why I wanted to start the podcast. And it's not the same as going out doing the Cube of Truth, but it's something.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you on that. Because it's hard, isn't it? It's hard having conversations with people, particularly people that don't want to engage with that.
Yeah. I can give you a great example of that. That happened on Tuesday. I went out for coffee with my boss's boss.
Ooh.
Just me and him. So I had cappuccino with oat milk.
Can I just quickly interject? I don't get cappuccinos. Too much froth. Michelle has cappuccinos, and I'm like, most of it's air.
Yeah, but it's milky air.
Anyway, carry on.
Yes. So oat cappuccino, and he had, what did he have? He had breakfast, actually. I can't remember what he had, but he had some hash browns, and he had the, what was it, like Korean mayo, I think it's called, or something like that. And it's a bit like sriracha. So he offered me one of his hash browns, which I gratefully accepted, because they're like potato wedge shaped. So it's not like the big sort of what you get from Tesco. Yeah. So I had one of them, and he said, "Oh, have some dip." So I had a look on the ingredients. It's got egg in it.
In the hash brown or the dip? Sorry.
No, in the dips. I'd seen that the hash browns were vegan on the ordering board. You know, when you go in and it's all off the counter. So that was fine. But the dip had egg in it. So I said, "Oh no, I'm all right. Thank you very much."
Yeah.
And then that brought on the conversation like, "Oh, do you not like spicy stuff?" Actually, I love spicy stuff, but I don't eat egg.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't eat egg or dairy or meat." He's like, "Oh." So we started having a chat, and then he said, "So if I," and I went through all the reasons why, you know, all the stuff that we've talked about on the podcast, basically. I nearly said to him, you know, just listen to these previous 7 episodes. But then he said, "So if I put a plate down in front of you with a steak on it, what would be your objection to eating it?" And I was like, I feel like we've been through this, because I've told you all the reasons that I'm vegan. And so I just said, well, I've been vegan for 4 years now. I don't need to eat it. I'm surviving and thriving without meat. So why would I need to eat meat? Why would I want to eat meat? And I thought, that's quite a weak argument. And I should have come up with something better. But it really surprised me the way that he asked it after I told him all the reasons that I was vegan, about, you know, I don't want to put animals through all the hate and through all the suffering and on all that thing. I don't want to eat another being.
Strange one, isn't it? Because, like you said, you've already given all the answers, and then he's thrown actually a new question at you.
Yeah, that's it. If he'd have said, "What about if you were stuck on a desert island with a pig?"
Yeah,
I'd have been, "No worries, mate. I can answer that one."
Yeah. I almost want to say it's admirable that he asked you an odd question.
It just really stumped me that it was, like you say, it was a completely different question that seemed to completely ignore all the things that I'd asked. And if anyone's listening to this, in the unlikely event that anyone's listening to this, I would love to hear how you would have answered that. Afterwards, I felt quite angry that I hadn't given a better answer.
Hopefully next episode we'll have some answers for ourselves.
Yeah.
There's an answer there.
And then
again, anyone that is listening will go, just say that.
Wes, you've shared on your Facebook page today an
Uh-huh.
excellent list of 100, what is it, 100 vegan
100
quotes?
100 inspirational vegan quotes. It's probably an answer to your question in here somewhere, to be fair. While we were chatting earlier, I was thinking, should we do one a week?
Oh, that's a good idea.
I might keep this, I'll bookmark it, and I'll come in with one every week. However,
Okay, I mean, that's massively ambitious of you that we're going to do another 100 episodes.
okay, so go with 5 then. Albert Einstein. Now he's a clever bloke. I don't know if you've ever
Apparently
heard of him. Crazy hair, but quite clever. Nothing will benefit human health and increase the chances of survival of life on Earth as much as the evolution to a vegetarian diet. I mean, that is vegetarian, but you know.
Yeah.
That
But
was
as Greg said in our last episode, vegetarians are tomorrow's vegans.
exactly. Another one, whoever John Stackers is, to get mud off your hands, use soap and water. To get blood off your hands, go vegan. Ooh, liking that.
That's a good one. He is a... Ha!
Oh no.
Right, so I've just Googled him. IMDb, John Sackers is a director and writer known for Go Vegan Motherfucker, the movie.
And there's our first E.
Oh, that's a bit of
Swear
an
words in
explicit marker.
today's-
Oh my God.
There's a couple of swear words in today's episode, so it might have to have an E on it. Anything you wouldn't want done to your companion animal is not humane. Thing, Ed?
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah.
The use of humane in animal agriculture is absolutely baffling to me.
Yeah.
It's just such a lie, and it's a barefaced lie.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know how they get away with it.
It's frustrating. Really is.
Yeah, massively.
Because it's one of the arguments we get, it's one of the questions we get. And you put that to people and you say, the one of those hoodies I've got is humane slaughter is an oxymoron. First, you've got to explain to someone what an oxymoron is. And then humane and slaughter don't go together. It doesn't work. And
No.
it's just, we've mentioned on other episodes, people that I've spoke to that have said, I know what happens, I just don't care. But if you know what happens,
What's wrong with you? Why wouldn't you care?
Why wouldn't you care? Just stop it.
So we had a great episode today, I thought. Our first couple that we interviewed.
Yes.
It was good. And
One of them 50% famous, or not at all famous, but look famous.
yeah, could get a job as a Daniel Craig impersonator.
Yes.
If he so wished. So that was good. And some good shout outs that we'll post in the links on the social media pages for some of their favorite brands and people that they're involved with. That would be good.
Absolutely.
Okay. What else do we need to say? If you want to get involved.
If you want to get involved, what do you do?
I'll tell you what, if you want to be a guest, you can definitely
wouldn't it be lovely?
get in touch. So if you wanted to get in touch, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search for How I Vegan Podcast. I'm going to start today by welcoming our first couple as guests. Normally we've had individuals on, but now we have a husband and wife and two vegan runners, of course, because as I mentioned before, all the vegans I know are vegan runners.
I don't have any vegans around where I live, so it's fine.
Yeah. So, big welcome to Carrie and Chris.
Hi, Carrie and Chris.
Hello.
Hi.
Let's start off then with who should we start? Let's start with Carrie. What's your vegan story?
So for me, I became vegetarian when I was 18, and I can pinpoint the moment when I did that because I was in my flat and I was cooking something with minced cow, and the fat was coming out of it, and I just looked at it and thought, my God, this was someone that was alive, and I've got bits of their body and I'm cooking them, and there's blood and there's fat, and I just put the lot in the bin, never touched it after that. Meat just completely went. So it took me a bit longer to get to know veganism and what it was about. This was all pre-social media, so there weren't any of the activists that were available for people to be educated by, and it was just really what you picked up from other people, and I didn't know any other vegetarians really. So yeah, once I learned about the horrors of the egg industry, the dairy industry, and that I could be perfectly happy and be perfectly healthy, if not more so, without all that stuff, then when I was about 28, so it took me about 10 years, I became vegan. And so that's now 17-ish years veganism. So yeah, that's how I am here today.
Fantastic. 17 years is tremendous. You are, I think, does that qualify you as one of our ancient vegans, Wes?
I imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, there's been a recur. People who have been vegan for a long time, not people who are ancient. I just qualify that.
Yeah.
The term of endearment, nothing more.
Yeah. It's absolutely positive. Chris, tell us what's your vegan story?
Yeah, so mine's a bit strange in the sense that obviously, so Carrie and I have been together a long time, and we were together before she became vegetarian. And in some ways, I've kind of gone along and followed in the footsteps, but it's just taken me a hell of a lot longer to get there. But I suppose in some ways, because I'm quite lazy when it comes to cook. Well, no, I don't do any cooking. So from a food perspective, when I've been kind of at home, I'd always sort of, you'd cooked me for a while. You cooked me stuff
for you for a while, didn't I? And then gradually I was like, no, can't even do that now.
No, and then because you do all the cooking, I just didn't bother. And I suppose as Carrie was going through her journey, there was, there was the food aspect, but there was also the, understanding more about the agriculture industry and what happens. And I suppose for a while I switched off because, I just didn't want to know the usual sort of cognitive dissonance. And then at a certain point, I think, and I can't pinpoint when it was, but mostly at home, I then just didn't, I just didn't have any animal products because we just didn't have any in the house. But then my biggest issue was that I used to travel a lot for work in different countries. And although sort of things were changing in the UK, when I was kind of going to France and I was out with colleagues, if you said that you were vegan, not only did they, at best, they didn't really understand. At worst, that you got some really nasty looks. So, but then probably about 6-ish years ago, I kind of thought, well, actually, I don't want to kind of use that excuse anymore. It might be inconvenient if I can't eat something whilst I'm out, but I can always eat something. And so probably about 6 years ago, I kind of started to make a switch. And then I think I probably went fully vegan about 5 years or just over 5 years ago. But I do remember that there was a time I switched jobs in the same company about 5 years ago, and I was introduced to my new team as a vegan, and actually at that time I wasn't quite there, and I kind of on the spot thought, well, what do I do here? Because do I come and say, well, actually I'm not quite? And I thought, oh, blow it, this is just the kick that I need. And that was it. But yeah, it's a kind of, it took me a long time to catch up with Carrie, and you'll probably hear this theme all through the.
Running, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
Very funny. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing to get in. That's fantastic how basically someone's mistake made you go vegan. I love that.
I was Jane.
Yeah, you can't.
Vegan, but then they told me I was, so I just thought I might as well do it.
Yeah,
It's like when someone gets your name wrong and you don't want to correct them, and therefore you're known as like Karen forever instead of Carrie, and you can't back out of it. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But I knew it
goes
was the
on
right
too
thing
long.
to do anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just needed that push,
Yeah.
that little push to get you over the line. That's brilliant. Thank
So
you
what's
for that.
been the what's been the biggest struggle for you both over those transitions?
Well, for me, I didn't find anything a struggle, because once I'd decided that's what I was going to do, that's what I did. You know, I was going to be vegan, and I learned and made mistakes along the way, but I can't say anything in particular was a struggle, because I ceased to see the things that I had previously seen as food anymore. So when people, you hear about people that have decided they want to be vegan and they continue to eat things, or they have a craving for something and they give in to that craving. For me, that was never an issue, because it ceased to be food. So I found that easy. The worst thing, I think, the biggest struggle was other people, particularly people who you might care about, and you know they're good people, but then when you try and explain, they just shut off. They don't want to know, or worse, they do know and still continue to partake in animal products, animal abuse. They're paying for it. They know that they are. And I find that quite difficult even now, I think more so now than when I first became vegan. Found that difficult to relate to, and like, why can you not make those changes? It's easy. Why do you continue to say you care when you don't? And that, I think, is the biggest struggle. So yeah, for me.
Yeah, it's similar to me, really. Personally, not much of a struggle. I suppose picking up, the previous theme about, my job. I work with a lot of people, and I used to travel really a lot, and so traveling around, it's kind of, I suppose it's more of an inconvenience that I was forever kind of having to explain. And Carrie and I are quite different in some respects of, I don't feel particularly comfortable talking about my personal life. Here I am on a podcast. but
it's all right. No one's listening. Don't worry. No one's listening.
In a work environment, I kind of, I don't necessarily bring my personal life. I didn't bring my personal life to work, yet kind of that forced it to cross a boundary. And I kind of, on many times during a week, because I'd be going from one part of the business to the other, I'd kind of have to repeat and explain myself, and then you'd kind of get the questions, and
it's like dinner table outreach, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And some people were, you get all the usual sort of comments and people thinking that they're funny in the jokes and stuff. And but it was just repetitive, lots and lots of them, not sort of nasty people, but it just weren't really aware. So
slows you down after a while.
Yeah, exactly.
What did your friends and family think about it?
Yeah, I didn't ask them really. I just, this is what I'm doing, like it or lump it kind of thing. I think it became more of a thing for family when we had children. We've got two children, one who's 12 and one who's 14, and they've been vegan throughout their life. So I've had 2 vegan pregnancies, and births, and now I've got these 2 lifelong vegan tween and a teen. Yeah, so I think there was more of the questioning whether we were doing the right thing. Or at the time it was obviously I was the only vegan, and it just seemed, I think partly it was kind of like as if I was forcing them to do something, because Chris was still at that point eating meat, but was wholeheartedly fine and happy and supportive with the children being brought up vegan. But I always felt that kind of pressure on me and me alone to make sure that everything was okay nutritionally for them, that wasn't damaging them in any way. On the opposite side of that, I don't think anyone questioned the rest of the family on their upbringing of their children eating KFC and McDonald's. So that was never questioned. But yeah, so it's kind of like, are you sure this is okay, and where are they going to get this from, and that kind of questioning. But in terms of me personally, I'm sure lots of things were said behind my back, but nothing was said to my face in terms of derogatory comments or anything like that I can recall.
Yeah, and I think we're both quite strongly principled people, and I think that kind of has come through in other ways, not related to veganism as well. So I think just in terms of our characters, it probably wasn't too much of a surprise, and for me, I mean, it was not even a thing really, because Carrie had paved the way for that to happen, and they were probably thinking it's not kind of if, it's just when. So I can't even remember if there was any kind of reaction at that time.
No.
And but they probably wouldn't. I mean,
they wouldn't say it to us.
They wouldn't say it anyway, because we were, we're strongly principled.
Yeah, it's not going to be influenced by what they say, so there's no point in saying it to us. It's that kind of thing. But...
So you obviously both changed or transitioned to veganism at different times. So how did it? No, that's wrong. How did anything change for you when you went through that transition? Was there anything significant that sort of happened physically or mentally or whatever when you changed?
No, I mean, I think for me, having been sort of vegetarian on my own, then I became vegan on my own. I suppose it was nice when Chris became vegan, because it was like, yay, we've now got a vegan household, and it was that kind of nice feeling. Knowing that when we went out for dinner, I wasn't thinking, is he going to put cheese on that, or is he going to have the chicken with that, where it could be a vegan option. That was the thing that used to get me. There would be a meal, and you go to one of these chain restaurants and you could pay to add cheese or pay to add some chicken to a what was a vegan dish, and it's that sort of like, that's one of the things you used to do, is add bits, and then that stopped. And I really liked that fact that it was like a guarantee that you could just have the vegan menu, it was fine. So yeah, I don't think anything particularly changed for me, because it was just felt right. It felt normal. I think in terms of becoming vegan, it's opened up in our friend groups. We've got such a diverse groups of friends now. I do activism, so I mean, nearly all of my friends, people I'm sort of socialise with, is through either running, vegan runners, or through activism. So you do kind of find yourself in a little bubble of vegan people, and it's quite a shock then to realise that other people aren't actually vegan when you bump into those people on occasion. So yeah.
I think, so I definitely noticed a difference physically. And I think it was a couple of things, really. I mean, certainly I felt much healthier. And bearing in mind that I was already sort of mostly eating vegan at home, but that switch to fully vegan, I certainly felt healthier. The only other time that's kind of, I've noticed it that much is I gave up sort of alcohol about, just coming up to a year ago. And noticed a big difference then as well. But I think one thing you probably noticed, and maybe this is a bit too much information, but where I was at a certain point eating sort of dairy, and particularly dairy, milk and cheese, you could smell it, and it's got that sour kind of linger to it, and sweat. It kind of
body
comes,
smell changes.
Your body smell changes. That's the good way to describe it.
That's the clean way to say
and
describe all the various things.
And I think when my body was kind of cleansed of that, I too became a lot more sensitive to that in others. So I kind of then got what you'd been going to.
I've been saying about the way it makes me feel, sort of particularly like when you go around the supermarket at Christmas and they've got all the bodies in the freezers and people are loading bodies into their trolleys, and it's kind of, I've actually been in a supermarket and had pretty much a panic attack at that time of year, because the feeling, it just washed over me of, it was like being in a zombie film and being the only non-zombie there, all these dead bodies around, people just gorging themselves on all these animals. And it just hit me, and I was like, I've got to get out of here. It was a really horrible feeling. So yeah, it's things like that. I think it has positives to it, but equally it can hit you when you least expect it, that thing that the person behind you is buying in the supermarket was alive. And they always put the vegan food in the meat aisle as well, so you have to go down there to go past it all. And I proudly wear a vegan t-shirt or something and strut down the aisle just to prove a point. You know, it's yeah, not nice, not a nice bit.
No, I really resent that in our Tesco. They have the sort of, you know, the vegan bacon and sausages are at the end of the bacon and sausages aisle, and I'm like, this, why are you doing this? Just put it separate. It's horrible.
You want to shake people when they're in front of you in the queue, don't you? You just want to go, what are you doing? Why have you got that stuff in your trolley? Do you know what they're going to do to you? But obviously we have to shut up and not do that, don't we?
Vegans have very sore tongues from biting them the entire time.
That's a good one. I like that. Okay, so a key vegan question: where do you get your protein and other nutrients?
And other nutrients. Well, I'm assuming I do get it from somewhere, having not eaten meat for most of my life now. Yeah, I don't like fake meats. I've never, because I think initially the thing that turned me off wasn't so much, the thing that turned me off of meat was the meat itself being an animal, but then I associated the smell and the taste with the animal. So for me, it wasn't something I enjoyed ever. I think as a child even, I never enjoyed eating meat. So I still don't eat that kind of stuff. And I prefer to, because I'm lucky enough that I do cook a lot, I don't eat much processed food. So yeah, just good whole foods really, as much as possible. The grains, pulses, whole grains, fruits, vegetables. I do eat tofu. So yeah, that's another good source. So yeah, just having a bit of everything, a bit of variety, but trying to keep your diet as clean as possible. Obviously some treats, but yeah, on the whole, sort of keeping it as many raw ingredients that you're using rather than relying on processed stuff, for me is how I feel best.
Yeah, I think if you saw my body shape relative to Carrie's, you'd see that I have all of that plus a little bit more. So I do. Well, it's interesting. I do quite like some of the fake meaty stuff. And I suppose from the early days, probably, you know, if you think I went vegan sort of just over 5 years ago, there was stuff coming out then, but it wasn't very realistic back then. But I actually developed quite a liking for that, all the stuff that was coming out. And I think what's quite interesting for me is that obviously now, more recently, some of the newer products are very, very realistic in terms of, you know, look, taste, smell, and I don't like that so much. I actually prefer the soya products, which are a little bit, but not quite there. It's really weird, but I've got used to it. You know, the same with like soy milk, for example. I got used to the taste of it, and so, you know, I quite like it now. But some people never get to that point, and so I have all of that Carrie said, plus, you know, the some of the soy products as well.
Pea protein, things like that, yeah.
Certainly don't feel deficient in protein.
We had a Beyond Burger the other day, and it was too much like meat.
Did you not like it?
No, it was really off-putting.
Wow.
No.
But I don't think they make it for us, do they? They make it for meat eaters who want to maybe have a meal without meat. Right. Who want to cut down. I think it's like vaping, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
For people who want to cut down on smoking, it's that sort of thing.
Mr. Carstrong uses it a lot, doesn't he? In his his activism. He's always
What is
going
he?
on, Beyond Meat burgers, yeah.
Yeah, that's when he goes out and does the street. Isn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do that as well, Carrie, don't you? Because I think last time I saw you, you were going out to do something.
Yeah, so I'm part of the group that meets in Cambridge usually once a month, and we do activism. Joe Carbstrong was actually in Cambridge the other day. One of his latest videos is in Cambridge, where we usually do our formations. So yeah, it's obviously a good spot. But yeah, so we go, and I've done like the Cube of Truth kind of Earthlings thing. It's now We Stand for the Animals is the name of the group, and there's a lot in London. Essex have got some chapters that just started up in the last month, and we've been doing under this banner in Cambridge for about 5-6 months now. So yeah, it's always nice to stand in solidarity with others, even when you're a minority, and feel like you're doing something. And some of the conversations we have are obviously complete dead ends from the start, and we don't ever stop anybody. They come to us and they ask what we're doing and why we're showing this footage of animals, and we answer their questions basically. But it's really nice that sometimes you will have somebody, and quite often there'll be somebody who's thought of veganism or they're vegetarian, and they know that there's another step they need to take, and we just sort of hold their hand a little bit. I always say to people that we're sort of giving them the seeds, the knowledge, the seeds, and it's up to them whether they water them or not, as whether it grows into anything. So they go away with that knowledge, and what they do with it is up to them. But I'm sure that we've encouraged a lot of people into veganism and to look into these things further and hopefully make changes in their lives the same way as we did. So it's quite a rewarding thing to do.
I love that you give them the seeds, because they might not decide on that day, right, that's it, I'm going vegan, but it gives them something to go away and think about, and it might take 6 months or something, mightn't it? And then they might just think, yeah, I get it now, and then off you go.
I had the loveliest conversation last time we were doing outreach. Mum, dad and child came along, and the girl was 11, and they stopped, and I said, oh, do you know what we're doing here? And I started to explain, and the girl just held her hands to her face and squealed with delight, and she said, I'm vegan too. And she said, I've never met another vegan. And she was almost this young girl, and the parents aren't vegan. She decided that's what she wanted to do, and she was just kept on just throwing her hands up and going, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. And she was like, knew all her stuff. She was like, as I'm talking to the parents now for each of them, she's going, yeah, chipping in. And I said, all the people here that you can see, they're all vegan, all standing around. And she was like, oh my goodness. It was just so lovely to see this excited girl on the start of her journey. She'd made this decision a couple of months ago for all the right reasons. She was doing it for the animals. She'd researched everything. And I said to her parents that you're bringing up this amazing young woman, and thank you for supporting her, because so many parents don't. They see it as a fad or something to be ignored. And they'd encouraged and supported her, which I thought was really lovely. And hopefully one day they'll get to that point too with her. It's really sweet,
tremendous.
really sweet.
Yeah, that must be a massive challenge to tell your parents that you want to go vegan when they're not, because they've got to change the way that they do everything.
Yeah.
As well as you, haven't they? Because they're the ones who are going to be buying the food and cooking it.
They're the ones telling you your you might remember the last couple of episodes we've done, I mentioned a guy at work who I showed the chicken maceration video to, and he's now a month of not eating meat.
Wow.
No way.
He'll probably never listen to this, and if he ever does, he'll know who it is. I'm not going to mention his name or anything. But he was the one guy, and I might have said this before, sorry if I'm repeating it, but he was the one guy at work that took the piss out of me more than anyone else put together. He was like full on every week. He would give me stick all the time. And then I showed him this video, and he was like, don't show me that again. I can't do it. I can't see it. And then there was another video. I can't remember who put it out there. It might have been Joey Carbstrong again, of a little boy holding a dead frog. His mum was about to prepare a chicken, and it had its head lopped off and all that stuff. And this little boy bawling his eyes out. He's going, I want to look after this chicken. And she's like, it hasn't got a head. He's like, but I want to look after it. And I was like, shall I show him this? And I just quickly showed him, and he was like, "No, don't show me that! Don't show me that!" It's like I've planted that seed in that guy, and I can't believe I've done it. I'm so happy.
Yeah,
Well done.
fantastic.
It's great.
Tremendous. You get one point, one vegan point there.
Vegan point.
It's a green star.
Yeah.
Now, my washing machine is doing a spin. It's going to be about another minute and a half. Wanted to just natter for a bit, and I have a good natter because I've got to say this. I've got to get it off my chest. But Chris, has anybody ever told you look like Daniel Craig?
So Carrie's laughing because probably thousands of people. Yeah, because
Really?
I said that I traveled around. I mean, I really traveled around. I did in 4 years. I did like 750,000 miles. And I
Don't
saw.
tell Greta.
No, exactly
Say the
right.
state of his running shoes after doing all that.
And actually, part of the reason why I changed jobs to the one I've got now is because I got conscience. I was increasingly becoming
Wow.
uncomfortable, but and it was a lot more money, but that's another matter.
But that does help.
But I mentioned I was going from one business to another, meeting loads of people, thousands of people, and because the company I was in before had 55,000 people, so all the time, and including sort of there'd be people, and a lot of time spent in America, and every time I went to America through passport and security, it's like, oh, has anybody told you that? Yeah. So yes, unfortunately, many people have. And in fact, I'll dig out a photo for you.
That one in Barcelona.
Yeah. It's
That one of you rappelling down the side of the cathedral in Barcelona.
That's the one, yeah.
Throwing a baddie off the side of it.
We went to Barcelona and there was this massive billboard poster with Daniel Craig advertising a watch or something like that.
Fantastic.
And Chris posed next to the.
Brilliant.
Oh, I love that.
It could be worse. You could look like Nicholas Lyndhurst.
well, do you know, I funnily enough, for a while, people said the other person that they said I looked like was Putin.
Wow.
So that's become slightly less
an attractive thing.
Yeah, that's become not so correct now. But
but you'd speak Russian though, Chris.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
That helps
hold on.
Yeah, that's not going to be good at passport control, is it?
No.
So anyway, should we carry on?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So, what is the best thing about being vegan?
So for me, I would say just having a clear conscience about things, knowing that I'm not willingly taking the life of something or someone else for me to exist. I don't need to do that. And that's quite a weight off your shoulders if you care about animals, to actually be able to align those morals and actions, I think. It's also, I think, for me, just meeting so many amazing people. And I don't know about how the vegans feel this way. Chris and I both discussed this. And like when we go to a vegan runners meetup and you see someone in that vegan runners top and you instantly know, I know something really deep about that person. I know how their morals lie. The most important thing about that person, I know just from seeing them. And you know you're going to get on, even if it's just on that basis. You've got nothing else in common other than that. You've got a connection, which I don't think you kind of get in any other, certainly not in my life. I've never had that kind of thing. Just meeting so many wonderful people that have sort of influenced me, and just sort of opened up a totally different side of things for me. I've got involved with I volunteer for an animal sanctuary in Spain called Jacob's Ridge. And so I do their fundraising, so I don't have to go to Spain to do it. Just sort of meeting people in those circles that work in animal rescue, and you just wouldn't do that without having that connection with being vegan. So that's what's the most important thing for me, I think.
it's the same. It's the moral compass for me. You know, it's that connection, that deep connection of knowing what's important. And yeah, and you don't often meet sort of vegans who are not really nice people. So
That's a very good point.
I think so. If someone's vegan, they're making that decision not to harm animals. They're not speciesist, but therefore you also can't be racist or sexist or homophobic, or you've got to be. Those things have to be aligned in order for you to be vegan. So it's more than just we don't eat animals. There's more to it than that. It just tells you something about that person, that they've put themselves out there, that they've made that decision to swim the opposite way against the tide, of everybody else. And yeah, it shows you something about that person's character, I think.
I'm thinking, like, when you go to, I always thought that when you go to like a concert, you go to see your favourite band, everyone in that room has, I always thought, has got the same interest, that you're into the same sort of music or you're into the same band.
Yeah.
However, some people might go to that concert as a friend and they might not like it. Whereas if you're wearing a vegan runner's top, like you said, you know that they're vegan because they wouldn't wear it for any other reason. They wear it because they may ask them to. So yeah, you're right. You know that person is that way inclined. That's really good.
And for me, that's the difference between being plant-based and vegan, is that anyone can not eat meat and dairy, but vegan is a way of life. It's not just a diet. And and like you say, it's all those different things all align. People think along the same sort of lines, and like you say, you know that you're going to have more than one thing in common, more than just the fact that you don't eat meat and dairy. You're going to have other stuff in common.
Yeah.
I
had someone come up to me when we had a vegan runners meetup last month, and they said, "Oh, just seen us all in our kit and everything," and they said, "Oh, you sort of I'm interested. Sort of how do I join and all this kind of thing." And I was chatting to him, and he said, "Because I'm about 90% vegan," and I said, "You can't be 90% vegan. What do you mean?" I said, "Either you're vegan or you're not." I said, "Do you mean you eat mostly plant-based food?" And he said, "Yeah, well, if I'm making something for the kids, I might finish off their omelette or their sausages and all this." I said, "You're not vegan then?" And he was like, "All right, okay, so I can't join." I said, "Why would you want to join? You're not vegan." I was really confused as to why he'd want to. Is the kit that nice that you just want to, So yeah. That's fine.
You could join the 90% plant-based runners.
Yeah, I'm sure there is one.
Okay, so what's your favorite vegan product at the moment?
Well, as I said, I don't really eat much in the way of processed food.
Doesn't have to be food.
No. So food-wise is probably the easiest thing. I would say my guilty pleasure in food is chocolate. I like good chocolate. And Ombar is our little addiction. It's a Cambridgeshire-based company as well.
Quite a big addiction.
But so we buy bulk boxes from their website direct from them. It's that bad.
Wow.
But it's really good stuff. Really good stuff. And it's they've changed over and being like coconut based, and they're doing an oat milk based one. So it's really ethical, and it's like better for the environment, because obviously the lower carbon footprint and everything. So we kid ourselves with doing the planet some good by eating this particular chocolate. Just so happens it's really nice.
Ombar, I've not heard of them.
Yeah,
they're not available in shops then. It's just online, or is it just local?
I've seen it in, I think, Morrison's and Ocado, Waitrose.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
the shops and stuff do it, but it's not sort of, I've never seen it in Tesco or Sainsbury's, so it doesn't sell everywhere, but yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
So make sure you hashtag it, Matthew, so that they send you stuff.
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah.
I'm already on their super fan list as well, so.
Oh wow.
True.
I am. I'm a super fan. But yeah, more chocolate is always welcome from them. Lovely.
Okie doke. We're going to check it out.
Well, I was going to say Ombar.
Your
wow.
favourite thing.
But well, let me go off since you say about product, not necessarily food, let me go off in a slightly different direction then, because I let me get on my hobby horse, because I really like cars. And one of my biggest frustrations is the interiors and the you know, so I
yes.
I mean, and I think there is a shift that's happening. So I'm really lucky that I'm in a position that I could get a Tesla, and a Tesla interior is you know, there's no leather, but there's so many other cars that are even sort of saying that they're moving to sustainable materials or sustainable leather. And it's yeah, I know exactly, yeah. But even the but then even the steering wheel, they might do the whole of the rest of the interior as sort of synthetic, and then, you know, a leather wrapped steering wheel. So that's my bugbear. But I mean, I love my Tesla. It's fantastic. but not just for that reason. So yeah, it's a bit of a loose link there. But yeah, I thought that would be a slightly different one that might come up.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly valid. It's a massive frustration for me that when you go looking for a car, it's like it's got to be leather, and you're like, why does it have to be leather? I don't get it.
Yeah,
but there are some newer ones now that are coming out labeled vegan, isn't there? I think one of the Skoda electric vehicles, you can have like the vegan approved interior.
You can, but Skoda don't do a vegan. They don't do a non-leather steering wheel anymore. They used to.
Oh really? Oh no way.
BMW have a Veganza. Their synthetic range, their synthetic interior is called Veganza. I mean,
brilliant.
But they only do a leather steering wheel. And I've contacted these companies. They must hate me because I keep on.
It's a project.
Yeah, you are not on their super fan list.
Yeah, they do it. They yeah. Anyway,
do they respond, or do they just?
They do, but you're never speaking to the people that really can make a difference, and it's buying power. You know, just like a lot of all the vegan products, buying power is the ultimate kind of swayer.
Can you hashtag Tesla as well, Matthew? In my
yeah, they need our promotion, don't they?
I do, yeah.
Definitely, they need us on site.
Oh, there was one other place that I thought of actually that I recently come across, is a clothing company, and they do vegan branded clothing, but it's kind of a bit more subtle than some of the stuff that you sometimes see where it's really splashed over. It's called Vegan Happy, and they do some really nice clothing, not just t-shirts and hoodies and stuff. They do sort of sportswear and things as well, and quite a lot of it is just a really subtle little label that just says Vegan Happy on the thing, really subtle, just to start that conversation. It might just say something on the sleeve, and yeah, I really like their range. They're sort of UK company, small business, and yeah, they've got some really nice stuff. So it's yeah, Vegan Happy is the name of the company. So yeah.
Oh, awesome. That's some of the vegan t-shirts especially are a bit, for me, they're a bit over the top.
Yeah,
like I'm very much sort of keep it quiet. Like wearing a vegan runner shirt is a big step for me.
No,
so wearing a t-shirt that's got, you know, vegan in massive letters and a picture of a cow with its head cut off or something like that is a bit, it's very a bit too much. Yeah, it's a bit graphic. Sorry.
I've got hoodies that I just put on because they're hoodies, and I like just go out and not think about it. And I'm like, the first time I wore it, I said to Michelle, I went, everyone keeps looking at me really odd. That's a good hoodie. So yeah. Not your mum, not your milk.
I saw Earthling Ed has launched a clothing brand this week.
Yes.
Clothing range.
Yeah,
this
you
week.
see the prices.
Yes. I don't think he's going for high volumes there, surely, because I know it's expensive because it's all, you know, ethically sourced, and, you know, everyone's paid the proper wage and everything, but
it's still being produced in Canada.
Oh really?
Yeah, because his main fan base, for want of a better word, is in America, North America. He's having it all done over there. So he's basically brushed us all off in the UK. That's why it's so expensive.
So what advice would you both give to someone who comes to you and says, I want to go vegan, what do I do?
Well, I would, me being me, I would probably just say, just do it, you know, just, if that's what you want to do, just get on and do it, you know, you'll learn along the way. Don't expect some epiphany, some moment when everything will be perfect and the planets will align and you'll suddenly say, yes, I'm vegan today. Just stop eating animals, you know, stop eating their secretions and cook and explore. And secretions is a horrible word, isn't it? But yeah, just stop kind of being worrying about it. Just get on and do it, you know. And yeah, people make mistakes as they go along, but I think that's just the best way of learning. Explore all these new products. You get to try foods that you probably haven't tried before, meet people that you wouldn't have met before, you know, just immerse yourself in it. But I know that isn't always possible for most people, not a lot of people, but yeah, to just embrace it rather than baby steps. Today I will not have this and tomorrow I won't have that. I think people overthink it sometimes.
For me, I'd just say speak to Carrie. And that's partly because I'm not good at that kind of conversation. Matt, I'm a bit like you. I kind of, it's my own thing, and I'm not, you know, I'm just not good at that conversation, and I don't kind of naturally try and enter that. But I, in all seriousness, though, I also think, you know, just as Carrie said, you know, we've always been the kind of people of just get on and do stuff. So just kind of do it, really. Give it a try.
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
Die of protein deficiency, obviously.
Well, yes, that was right. Or find yourself stranded on a desert island with just a pig.
Always with what are pigs doing on desert islands?
Yeah.
The other animals getting a look in here.
Oh dear. So who's your vegan inspiration?
I know Chris's answer straight away.
Done. I'm rapidly trying to think of a different answer now.
I would say probably in terms of like activists, if you like, Joey Carbstrong or Earthling Ed. Earthling Ed was actually the person who got me involved in activism, because it was something that I had been sort of toying with, and at that time Chris wasn't vegan, and it kind of felt weird for me to go out and tell other people to change when I couldn't change, not change him, but you know what I mean, to influence that change in him. How was I going to do that to somebody else? And we went along to Vegan Life Live at Alexandra Palace or something like that, isn't it?
I think so.
And one year, and Earthling Ed was giving a speech, and whole room in tears at the end, you know, as these things are, really, really traumatic. And at the end went up and spoke to him, and he was saying as part of his speech that it's not enough to just be vegan. That's the least you do. Unless you influence others, nothing goes anywhere. Nothing changes. And I realized at that moment that I needed to do more. It was my obligation to the animals to do more than just sit back and go, well, I've sorted me out. Everyone else can just get on with it. So for me, that moment, he influenced me to get involved with animal activism and hopefully educate others. And then Joey, I mean, everyone loves Joey, don't they? He's so good at what he does, and very different style to Ed, definitely. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the other influences, I think, are positive people that I'm around, the people who are out there day after day, sort of either working in sanctuaries that I know, or sort of doing activism in the streets, in the rain, in the winter, you know, just trying to bring about that change. They're the true heroes, I think, that will never have a YouTube channel and never have a Patreon account, you know, the ones that are out there actually getting their hands dirty every day.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So who is it that you think that I'm going to say? So well, let me give you two. One is Carrie, and I'll tell you why in a second. But there was also, I remember I think I was just turning vegan, or not long been vegan, and we went to Veg Fest, and we were listening to Vegan Smythe. And
if anyone hasn't looked up Vegan Smythe, he's amazing.
I think he's an Australian politician or something.
He is a politician, yeah.
But
Vegan Smythe.
Vegan Smythe, yeah.
Yeah, but he wrote and performed music, didn't he?
Yeah.
Songs, vegan songs.
It's all
basically.
vegan songs.
And that was kind of, it was a no BS kind of straight to the point song.
Yeah.
But quite.
Is it Where Have All the Boy Chicks Gone?
Yeah, and it's
That
just
one,
kind of.
yeah.
Oh wow.
Like,
That's one's about horse racing, and
Yeah.
it's got a very funny one called Where'd You Get Your Protein, which is very funny.
So that kind of reinforced it, but yeah, I mean, as you can probably predict, I mean, I think Carrie's been an inspiration, but for a couple of reasons, not just because I've been a very, very delayed sort of on that journey,
long-term project.
Yeah, exactly. but I think for another a really significant reason, I think, is that I've kind of come to realize that although I'm not the kind of person that is, you know, out there and fighting and campaigning and doing activism, you know, not just with veganism, but just in general, I think the world needs people that stand up with a voice. And I'm not really that kind of person, but I thoroughly appreciate that Carrie is. And as Carrie said, you know, all those people that do, because I think you do need people to fight for change. And you know, some of the more significant change that has happened in the course of history has happened because people have put themselves out there and really fought for it. And so yeah,
Change doesn't happen when people sit down and be quiet.
No, the only reason we've got the rights that we have is through protest and people fighting for it, isn't it? Absolutely.
I don't know if you've had this, but Michelle was obviously, she was our first ancient vegan on the podcast. But she was vegan when I met her, and then I mentioned before she was watching Cowspiracy, and I started watching it, and then that was me. That's when I changed overnight. That was it done. The amount of people that say to me, without even knowing that part of the story, say, if you and Michelle split up, would you continue being vegan? I'm like, what the fuck has it got to do with her? It's my choice.
Wow.
It's a choice. What would me and her splitting up have anything to do with that? Do you get that? Or
well, I think I've the way I've thought about that previously, I haven't kind of thought in those terms, but the way I've thought is that the people that are vegan and then stop becoming vegan, I think to myself, well, you're clearly not vegan, because you've clearly not been vegan, because how can you, it's a fundamental change of belief that, you know, how would you go back from that? You can't unknow stuff. You can't unsee this stuff. So how could you, you would have to really.
At what point does that become okay again in your mind? What wasn't okay before?
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus, it was her brain deteriorating, wasn't it? Because she wasn't eating fish.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what she said?
Apparently that's what she said. Yeah. Whatever. You can edit that out. I don't read them for libel. So, our last question then. Have you got a favourite vegan venue or restaurant currently?
We've got quite a few, or not loads, but quite a few in Cambridge, haven't we? Which is our nearest big place. So Stem and Glory in Cambridge, that's good. They've got one in London as well. They do quite good food in there. Tipsy Vegan have opened in Cambridge. Their first one was in Norwich. And
Tipsy Vegan.
Tipsy Vegan. They do cocktails and stuff as well, mocktails, but really good food. It's like a tapasy kind of vibe. But they've got a really nice site in Cambridge, right on the river. So you can get pestered to go punting and then go and have a vegan meal. So it's quite good.
Nice.
But there's a few.
You wouldn't expect me to give any different answer, really, would you? But But I must admit, because we went on holiday to Barcelona once, and we did a vegan food tour.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And that was good. That was pretty special. And I can't remember any of the names of the
like
restaurants.
5 places, and we ended up at a place that just did desserts.
Wow.
Wasn't it at the end?
No, we had our dessert there.
They did dessert, so it was basically they just
But
served dessert
it
stuff
was
and alcohol.
it was
amazing.
super. I mean,
It was
really.
amazing.
I mean, Stem of Glory in Cambridge is quite. I think they broke the mold a little bit in the UK, because they kind of was pitching for really high quality. I mean, I'm sure it loads in London, but certainly in Cambridge for really high quality and slightly higher.
Like the usual burgers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this place in Barcelona was like something else. I mean, yeah.
I think it's quite nice when you travel around and just try different vegan restaurants and things. Like we used to live in Italy, and in Venice, there's one vegan restaurant in Venice.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, it's really, really nice food, nice atmosphere, and
Yeah.
but yeah, it's sort of just not on the main sort of bit. You have to walk to get it. You have to earn your food.
But we
yeah, it's quite
plan. No,
Happy
sorry,
cow is-
sorry. I plan to the nth degree our holidays and trips and stuff like that. And,
usually
and,
around food,
and
isn't
it's pretty much around Happy Cow.
it? Using the app
Yeah.
to find vegan places.
Happy Cow is an absolute godsend, isn't it? A number of times I've been away with work or whatever, and just put it in and off you go. There's always something.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Yeah.
very useful.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Forkies in Czech Republic, a couple of Forkies restaurants in Czech Republic. They're very good.
Forkies. Okay, I like that.
Somewhere a bit different.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. One thing I wanted to ask, you mentioned you've got vegan kids. So how is life for them at school and with friends and stuff like that, if that's okay to ask?
Yeah. I mean, from when they were young, it was more of an issue in terms of like so-and-so's brought sweets in today, and so you used to have like an emergency bag of sweets at the school that I left with their teacher, so they could dish out some stuff to my kids or our kids when someone else brought in something not suitable. But the children at a very young age got used to picking out like the things that were okay, like the double liquor lollies or the refreshers that they knew were okay.
Oh.
So from being 4 or 5, they could tell at a glance out of a mixed bag of sweets which things were okay and which things weren't. But then so then you get onto things like cookery lessons in school and the substituting stuff. But I think as long as you speak to the teachers in advance and lay it out, this is the situation, always check with me first, and I'll always provide something that's as near as I can to what you're doing. And they were pretty much okay with that. Now they're getting older, I think there's more of the prejudices of parents coming out through their kids, because there have been a few incidences where it's been used against, particularly with our daughter being a bit older, derogatory comments made and sort of about being vegan, which must be really hurtful for them, because they've been vegan all their lives. If someone says, "Why are you vegan?" they can't answer that, because it's like saying to a child, "Why do you eat meat?" "I don't know, I've always done it." So they're not armed with their motives for living this lifestyle, because it's normal, it's their life. You can't question why people do what they do normally. So yeah, I think our son's really chilled and laid back, and he doesn't seem to have any of these things yet. But with our daughter, she seems to have had a few instances. But on the whole, her close friends have been very sort of supportive. They'll sort of check with her if they've bought sweets when they're out. They'll always try and get something to include her. Where a lot of fast food places now have sort of vegan options, they go with her friends to McDonald's and things like that. So she's more able to include herself. But it's like last week, there was a trip to the zoo, and she excluded herself from that trip to the zoo. There was her and 2 other children that didn't go for other reasons. Because although she really wanted to go and be with her friends, she said, I knew it was the wrong thing to do. I was doing it for me. And she made that decision. And there was so much angst over this decision that she made, but I was so proud of her for making that decision herself. And she instantly, as soon as the trip came out, she was like, I'm not going. So that, I think, was such a big thing. She missed out on not the zoo side, but everything else that came with it, because of her beliefs and her morals. And so I can't see them ever not being vegan, because it's just their life. It's how they are. They've not been protected from the gory side of it.
Yeah.
So they know what goes on. They've visited the sanctuaries. They've seen footage. They know what goes on. And like Chris said earlier, how you can't undo that once you know it. And even more so when that's all you've known is that. So
I guess one other difference is that, as an adult, you've got the maturity, but also the couldn't care less syndrome, really, in the sense of, if you don't like who I am for who I am, then
worried about offending,
that's your problem, not mine. And that kids are not mature enough to deal with that, and our kids are really mature. So, but even so, it's not easy, and they're kind of, particularly as they go through teens, sort of battling with that, the need and desire to be accepted and liked, and of course this is something that makes them different. So it makes them a bit of a target, unfortunately. But it is their who they are. So I mean, I think to your point, it's they'll get through it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but it's brilliant that they do it, and then they've got that. They've got you supporting them as well, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's just normal. They're used to it. They're probably, if there was an Olympics in scanning labels, they would be there. Gold medals, because they've done it all their lives. They've instantly can pick out if something, they know E numbers, E120 cochineal, no, can't have that. It's all that thing. They know what they can and can't have. Our daughter, when she goes for like cosmetics and things like that, she'll go out with her friends, I checked it, it's vegan, and she'll sort of look for the cruelty-free logos and the vegan logos, and she knows if she goes into Superdrug that she can probably get what she needs, and it'll be clearly labeled. And so it's those kind of things, again, not just the food. They know they would be mortified if they brought something home that had animal products in it. It would affect them. So
that's an amazing thing for a 14-year-old to decide that they don't want to go on a school trip.
I know.
And to go through with it. That's really tremendous. I don't think there are many 14-year-olds who would be able to stand up in that way.
Yeah.
In with all the peer pressure and everything as well, knowing that they're going to become a focus. That's fantastic.
Yeah, as tough as it is now, I think in later life it should make them stronger. I think
that consistency.
Okay, well, I was just going to say that's all the questions.
Yay!
So thank you so much,
Thank
both of you, for giving us your time. It's been really, really great.
Thank you.
It's been really good. It's been fun.
Yeah, great.
Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it and found something useful.
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, WordPress, and YouTube. Just search for How I Vegan Podcast.
And you can send an email or a voice note to us at howiveganpodcast@gmail.com.